and there were some people who didn't know that we were listening, but we were listening. So welcome everyone to Tikkun Leil MeZOOMin. It is hard to believe that we have another Chag now that we're not going to be together in shul for, but we thought about ways to try to capture a little bit of the Shavuot and the learning. So we decided to dedicate our weekly MeZOOMin, which happens about this time, about an hour later every Thursday night, to Shavuot and to some learning. We'll start with some opening. It's going to be a quasi MeZOOMin and quasi learning. So it's our first MeZOOMin that's happening on an Erev Shavuot. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll have some opening words, and then Rabbi Wahlberg, Rabbi Yogev, and myself, we're each going to give a little mini shir. So basically, usually on Shavuot night, each one would take like an hour, but we're going to give it to you in about 7 minutes or so. And then when we get to the end of that, we're going to install our officers, and we're going to have Yizkor. And all the way at the end, we will unmute everyone, so everyone will have a chance to say Chag Sameach to all. So welcome to our Tikkun Leil MeZOOMin. Rabbi Wahlberg, are you out there?
Actually, at this time, I'm in bed, and it's just good to share this time with you. I want to tell you what this MeZOOMin means. I got an email today from one of our congregants. Beth Tefillah is doing a great job of trying to keep everybody connected. It's not easy. We are really lucky to have such a wonderful, caring rabbinical staff. You, Rabbi Posen, Rabbi Yogev, and Rabbi Wecker. The best thing for you and for all of us is that you all genuinely love each other, and it shows. Anyway, I'm rambling. It may be because I'm baking challah and it rose. Let's all cheer for Rachel Meisel's challah rose. But she also reminds us of what a close-knit family we are and how we share with each other and just feel connected, even though we're not physically connected. Somehow, through this MeZOOMin, we're staying connected in some way, and it feels good. All that's missing is a hug. That will come.
It goes to show you that it's easier to fool people over the screen.
Oh, we all look better over the screen. There's no question.
I hope that you all noticed that we're all dressed up this evening. Rabbi Yogev, how are you?
I'm unmuted. That's the first thing. I'm doing well. Feeling good. Happy to see everybody's faces. It's so nice to see everybody. And I'm excited for tonight. We have some really good things in store for you. You're going to see a miraculous event tonight. Rabbis trying to get their Divrei Torah down to 7 minutes. That's already going to be a miracle.
Is it true that each hour of the night on Shavuot, you go through one of those bookshelves behind you?
Oh, that's not real. It's like one of those fake magic.
All right, what, Rabbi?
I just want to say my fondest memory with getting up and learning all night for Shavuos was the difference between youth and when you're no longer young. When I was a child, I used to cry because my father wouldn't let me stay up for Shavuos night to learn. And when I was a teenager, I used to cry because my father made me stay up the whole night to learn. So life has its ups and downs. Let's go, Rabbi Posen.
Well, I'm looking forward this Shavuot. Usually I'm in shul and it's late and I stay there late and I don't really get to learn as a father. So I'm looking forward this Shavuot to do some of that learning. But before we continue with our classes, the Torah says, Shema b'ni musar avicha, that we should listen to the lessons of your father. V'al titosh Torah imecha. Don't forget the Torah of your mother. And so I am bringing you my mother, who's going to give us a very quick and important reminder about a mitzvah that is very easy to do on this Erev Shavuot, and it's important that people do it, so listen up.
Okay, hi everybody, it's great to see everyone. I'm about to make the Eruv Tafshilin for my family here. We're told to take a cooked food, so I have a potato, And a baked food, I have a piece of matzah. We're going to eat these on Shabbat. And in the afternoon, before the Chag begins, which is like now, there's one short bracha to say and then one sentence. I'm going to read the bracha in Hebrew. I'll read the sentence in Aramaic and then say it again in English because it's important to know what we're saying. Such an easy, amazing mitzvah that we can all do. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al mitzvat eruv.
Amen.
B'dain eruvah, by this eruv, Yehei shrei lana, may we be permitted, lemefe, to bake, ulavashala, to cook, ula atmana, to insulate food, ula adlaka shraga, to light a flame, ulemabad kol tzarkana miyom tava l'shabta, and do everything necessary on the Chag for the sake of Shabbat, lanu ulecha Yisrael hadarim ba'ir hazot, for us and for all Jews living in this city. And what I usually do is I take the food, I put it in a Ziploc bag where I wrote Eruv, so I'll know what it's for, put it in the fridge, and we have to remember to eat it on Shabbat. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Miss you all.
But if you didn't label it and you just saw a piece of matzah and potato.
That's because, Rabbi, you don't know how many Ziploc bags with a piece of matzah and a potato we have in our refrigerator.
It's true.
Okay, I want everybody to understand the reason why we make the Eruv is that enables us to prepare food on Yontif that we're going to need for that day and for the next day, which makes it possible for us to have food prepared for Shabbos.
Awesome. Yasher koach. Thank you. All right. So we're going to jump into our learning. And we are going to begin with Rabbi Wahlberg. Our theme is Return to Sinai. Rabbi Wahlberg is going to share his hour-long shir in 7 minutes for us. And we will be projecting onto the screen the source sheet so you can all follow along.
Okay. I am going to try and answer a question I've never been asked. And I can't understand why I've never been asked this question. The question is, we are celebrating on Shavuot the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. Everyone knows that. Now here's the question. Why is Sinai Hospital named Sinai? No, most people, knowing the way the Jewish community operates, might be under the impression that there was a very wealthy man named Mr. Joseph Sinai, and so they named the hospital after the money he gave. But there's a Sinai hospital in Detroit, and in Toronto, and in Milwaukee, and in California, and in Florida. Why are hospitals named for Sinai? Anybody know the answer? That's why I'm the rabbi.
That's why we keep them on mute.
Yeah, keep them on mute, no question.
They're all muted, Rabbi.
Okay, so let me tell you. Number one, the Medrash says when Israel came out of Egypt, the vast majority of them were afflicted with some blemish. Why? Because they had been working in clay and bricks and climbing to the tops of buildings. Those who were engaged on building became maimed through climbing to the top layers of stone. Either a stone fell and cut off the worker's hand, or a beam or some clay got into his eyes and he was blinded. When they came to the wilderness of Sinai, God said, "Is it consonant with the dignity of the Torah that I should give it to a generation of cripples? If on the other hand I wait, others will take their place, I'll be delaying the revelation." What then did God do? He bade the angels to come down to Israel and to heal them. Everybody at Sinai stood healed. And ever since, we've made a connection between body and soul, and that the soul which was uplifted at Sinai had to have a body that was in good working condition as well. When we make a refuah shalema, we say refuah tanefesh and refuah taguf, healing of the body and healing of the soul. We connect the two. And so when a hospital is named Sinai, it's meant as a remembrance of the power to heal that was felt at Sinai. You should know Judaism puts tremendous emphasis on taking care of our bodies. It says if somebody says, I'm not going to take care of my body, I don't have to, it's my body, that kind of a person is punished. I wanted to just give you two examples of how seriously we take this idea of taking care of your body. Example number one, the Talmud tells us there was a certain fish that was roasted together with meat. Rava of Parzikia prohibited it from being eaten with kuta due to the meat flavor absorbed in the fish. Mar Baravashi said even to merely eat it with salt is also prohibited because meat that is roasted or cooked with fish is bad for odor, meaning it causes bad breath, and for something else, leprosy. Therefore, one should avoid eating it due to the danger involved. So the Talmud says we should not eat food that was cooked together, fish and meat. We should not eat if they were cooked together. If you go down now, the code of Jewish law in Yeridea takes it a step further. He would wash his hands between meat and fish and eat dip bread in between to wash his mouth. Some say there's no concern for this unless he cooks and eats them together, but to each of them on if the other is not a concern. The custom is not to wash one's mouth and hands between, but still one should eat and drink something. This is the basis of the tradition Jews have of not eating fish and meat together. Originally, the prohibition was you can't eat them together if they will cook together. Later on, we said you just can't eat them together. There was a time when we used to wash our hands and eat some food in between eating fish and meat. Why? Because the rabbis said there's a danger. There is a physical danger. It can cause the plague. It can cause leprosy. Is that true? To the best of my knowledge, there are a lot of people who are eating lobster and steak together, and Baruch Hashem, they seem to be feeling very well. Contemporary medicine does not support this prohibition. And yet we maintain it. And yet we maintain it. Not as exacting as the rabbis had it, but after you eat a piece of gefilte fish, you're supposed to wait or eat a little piece of challah before you have your meat. Because of the slightest possibility that someday we'll find out that there is something unhealthy about it.
Rabbi, it'll be important for our people to know that they can also make that distinction by making a l'chaim in between.
You can either drink, wash your mouth, or eat some food between having your fish and having your meat. But we still maintain it because even though medically we've heard that it's not a problem, and then again we heard medically that 6 feet distancing is enough, and now we're hearing 8. Maybe someday we're going to find out there's something unhealthy about this. That's how cautious Jewish law is when it comes to our health. The second example is a very well-known, famous example. We'll do number 4. Reb Shimon ben Manasseh said, It is stated, and the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbos to observe the Shabbos. The Torah said, desecrate one Shabbos, on his behalf, he will observe many Shabbatot. The rabbis interpreted this statement, and the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbos to observe the Shabbos, saying you can violate one Shabbos if necessary, so that you'll be able to live for another Shabbos. That is why if you have to go to a hospital on Shabbos, if you have to call a doctor on Shabbos, anything that you have to do on Shabbos, even if it violates the Shabbos, even if it's to turn on a light to find your medicine, you're allowed to violate it because we give up one Shabbos to be able to observe other Shabbosim. The Gemara goes on to say, others learn it from the words v'chai bahem, and you shall live by them. That God is telling us that the purpose of the mitzvot is to live by them, not to get killed by them. And so your health takes precedence over all of the mitzvos. Look at what Maimonides says. Like all other commandments, Shabbos is overridden by danger to life. Hence, we execute all of the needs of an ill person in mortal danger according to the word of an expert physician in that place on Shabbos. When there is a doubt whether there is a need to profane the Shabbos for him, or there is not a need, and likewise, if one physician said to profane the Shabbos for him, but another physician said he does not need it, we profane the Shabbos. For even a doubt about danger to life overrides the Shabbos. And what about a doubt for a coronavirus? Are we so sure we can have minyanim in shul or in backyards and everybody's going to be safe? Today, there were 1,200 cases of coronavirus in Maryland. One day. Do we know yet from day to day? Are we so sure? So if we're not having services, it's not because we don't consider the services important. They're very important, but you are more important. That's not my opinion. That's not Rabbi Yogev or Rabbi Posner's opinion. That's Jewish law's opinion. We've got a beautiful religion we're a part of. Let's cherish it. Chag Sameach.
Awesome. Yashar Koach. Thanks, Rabbi Wahlberg. We're going to shift gears a little bit to a very different topic, but it's all connected. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Shavuot and art history. I'm just going to share my screen here. So this topic interests me because I was just went on this Chabad website and I saw on the Chabad website, I saw them discussing like Mamad Har Sinai. I was looking for like the reason why we eat cheesecake or something. And they have all these pictures of Sinai. I was like, these are really nice pictures. I wonder who painted them and when they started. And then I started I Googled Sinai in art and I came across around 20 paintings. And so I did a little more research and figured out that there is a whole series. This is like a genre, a Sinai painting. And so I was wondering if there is some sort of message for us from these paintings. And I realized that there is. And so I'd like to share that with you with a few paintings that appeared throughout over the last hundreds of years. So I'm going to share them with you now. But it's all this whole lecture revolves around these verses. There's a lot of imagery when it comes to Sinai, and most of you know this. When you read the verse Shemot 19, it says I'm just reading the parts that I highlighted here. There's thunder, lightning flashes, thick cloud, powerful blast of a shofar. Mount Sinai was smoking. There's fire. The shofar grew increasingly stronger. When you read all these depictions, it sounds like a very awe-inspiring and perhaps scary event. And a lot of their earlier paintings seem to depict it in that manner. they depict it as an overwhelming event. You'll see in some of these paintings how that's portrayed. And what I want to show as we go along is that some of the later paintings I'm going to depict have a little bit of a different approach, and perhaps they're going to offer us a different reading of these verses and an important message for us for Shavuot. So without further ado, let's get going. We have around 5 or 6 paintings here. There are many of them. I just had to find a few that I felt were relevant to show you. All right, so here's the first one. Let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. So here's the first one. This is by Cosimo Roselli, and forgive me if I don't pronounce the names. I'm a yeshiva bocher, so I wasn't taught all these names. But this painting, if you can see it, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. It basically depicts all the stages of what happened in this Sinai and after Sinai. So Moshe is up here getting the Torah at Sinai. So you can see this. He's up here on Mount Sinai. That's Joshua. And supposedly this is God. It's a white male. And God's angels. And so that's kind of this picture. I only brought this picture because this is in the Sistine Chapel, so it's important painting to know. And that I just think it's interesting. It's colorful, and you get a depiction of all the different stages. So over here, you have Moshe coming down with the tablets, and then him realizing that they're doing the sin over here, so he breaks them. And over here is the second tablets. And to the right, you have other events. So this basically just depicts all the events in a very colorful way. But the Sinai experience does look a little angelic. It doesn't look so scary in this one. But you'll see in the other paintings, it does look a little bit more scary and awe-inspiring. So here is another painting. This is Philippe de Champagne. That's how I'm pronouncing it. And this is an interesting painting. I've just brought this. There are a lot of paintings. What's important to know is a lot of these paintings, they put Moshe in the center. So Moshe's here, Moshe's here, Moshe's here. They're very Moshe-centered. And this painting is Moshe-centered. And obviously, it doesn't have, it's not written in Hebrew here, the 10 Commandments. But the reason why I brought this, I just think it's a nice painting in the sense that, look at Moshe's face. The lighting the use of lighting is really special here. And his face, he kind of looks puzzled. I don't know, maybe you can write in the chat section, how do you think Moshe looks in this painting? I think he looks a little bit overwhelmed, like what is going on? Perhaps he looks enlightened. He has light is filling his face. And it just seems like, again, this depiction is Moshe standing in front of Sinai. I feel overwhelmed and just overcome by God's blessing and God's light. Let me just see what some people added in the chat. Tablets look like a paperback, not Charlton Heston's huge stones. Okay, well, I don't think they look like Charlton Heston's huge stones either. Okay, so I want to show you that. Here's another painting, which is I like this painting a lot. This is by Benjamin West, and it's from 1784. And what I like first of all, I like it because he actually studied in Philadelphia, and I'm from Philadelphia, but I don't think that's the only reason why I like it. I like this painting because it's really interesting to see Moshe's getting the tablets from heaven. He's very close to the people. Okay. Now, if you pay attention, the people here are all really scared, overwhelmed. Look at this individual over here. He just can't even look. It's too much for him. This one bowed down. They're overwhelmed, and they're all bathed in divine light. And what I like about this painting is that you have the clouds and the rocks. You don't know which is which, and they're kind of playing into each other. And it's the idea of God's divine light just kind of overwhelming everything. And so here also, it's a little bit kind of awe-inspiring. People are overwhelmed, and it's said that the two of these individuals, I think this one and this one, help him paint the painting. So they made their appearance in here. So this painting is from 1895 to 1900. This is by Jean-Léon Jerome. And if anybody knows, put in the chat bar if you know what the Burning Man experience is. I think this was the first Burning Man ever. If anybody knows what that is. If you do, then you know what I'm talking about. It looks like a Burning Man on top of Sinai. This is like a weird painting in a way. But what I liked about this painting is also, again, it depicts the people down low here, also kind of like afraid, overwhelmed. Check this person out over here. They're running away. Everyone's far away from Sinai. It's very Moshe-centered. Let me see if someone, Burning Man, LOL. Okay, we got one. Someone knew that. Of course, Rena knew that reference. But check out Moshe. What the heck's going on with is laser beams. Well, it says in the Torah that he has karan or panas. Some people understood those to be like laser beams or horns. But what I want to show you is just look where Moshe is, look where the people are. And again, this depicts all the aspects, the fire, the cloud. But again, Moshe's far away, the people are far below. And again, it depicts that overwhelming, awe-inspiring event. I want to transition now to two modern paintings, which I came across. I really love these paintings. And these two paintings go a whole different direction. They're by this individual by Yoram Ra'anan. If anybody knows who that is, let me know in the chat section. Yoram Ra'anan is an Israeli painter. He's from America originally. And he had a horrible catastrophe. In 2016, he lost in a fire 40 years of work. I think these might be from those earlier years. But now he's putting out all these new paintings, and they're full of life and energy. You should go to his website. It's really impressive. So this painting is better. This is better than the Brotherhood art auction. Okay, well, is that a compliment? I'm not sure. No. Okay, BT man, go BT man. So someone added that in the chat bar. So I'm just going to give you these two more paintings, and then relay my Dvar Torah. This painting. What I really like about this painting, he titled it Har Sinai for now. Why? Har Sinai it's not Moshe centered, and it's kind of like colorful, and it's an opening toward a different Sinai experience. And this is what I want to relay to you. All those elements of fire, clouds, smoke, they can all be reinterpreted in a positive way. Somebody who comes to the Torah, they can be filled with the fire of Torah. They can have thunder. They have so much energy and light and power. Your Torah experience doesn't have to be scary. It can be full of energy, passion, and inner fire, inner connection. I think that kind of comes through in this painting. This painting he completed after 25 years. He finally completed it. And this next painting really brings this idea forward. And I think it's beautiful. This painting is called Sinai 2. And pay attention to where the people are. The people are below, but they're part of Sinai. They're part of the Sinai experience. And the colors and the imagery and the almost the shake, it almost looks like a shaky screen. It's to show that everybody's in that experience. And Moshe, where's Moshe? And where's Har Sinai? Everyone's together. They're all connected. And that's what I really liked about this picture, this painting, is that it relays this idea of Sinai from a whole different perspective. And it's colorful. And its people are pointing forward. They're not slouched over. And that's the idea that I want to relate to you about Shavuot. Shavuot, it's important to have that yirah, that fear. That's the basis of our connection to Torah. On the other hand, what we need today, I believe, is that connection, that passion, that love, that fire. And I think both of those experiences are highlighted in that portion of the Torah and in these different paintings that I brought forward in this presentation. So as you hopefully learn a little bit of Torah tonight, may it be one of passion, of connection, of love, and also of awe and God willing blessing for all of us. Chag Shavuot Sameach.
Yasher koach, Yasher koach. Really interesting. Thank you. So we heard Rabbi Wahlberg speak about the healing power of Har Sinai, and we heard Rabbi Yogev speak about that beautiful power that we could look at it in a scary way, but we could also look at it in a very positive way. And that's exactly where I want to pick up on in a little mini share here that I titled Sinai, Burden or Relief. So there is a pasuk that we read in the portion right before we receive the 10 Commandments that says the following, and it's source number 1 up on the source sheet right there. Moshe led the people, right? Moshe-centric, Rabbi Yogev would say. Moshe led the people out of the camp toward God, and they took their places at the foot of the mountain. So first of all, there's this imagery of Moshe leading them, and perhaps they're somewhat, we could say they may be afraid of that. But Moshe says led them to the foot of the mountain, Tachtit Hahar. And there's a midrash, that pretty famous midrash, a Gemara, that you may be aware of. This is source number 2 that says the following. Vayityatzvu b'tachtit hahar. They stood at the foot of the mountain. Tachtit also means Tachat means underneath. So they stood perhaps underneath the mountain. Amar of Abdimi Bar Chama, this is source number 2 of Abdimi Bar Chama Bar Chasa said the following. This comes to teach us that God lifted the mountain over their heads. We say like kigigit is some sort of like vessel, like a tub is the way it's usually translated. And said to them, if you accept the Torah, good, you'll be fine. And if not, I'm going to drop this mountain on your head. Sham tehei kvuratchem. You will die here. Says this Midrash, the Torah was given to us in a forced way. It was compelled upon us. We had no choice but to accept the Torah. What choice did we have? The mountain was being held over our heads and it was going to be dropped on us, right? This is very not modern. We believe like today, everyone could do whatever everyone wants to do. That's why it's so shocking to us that there are limitations on what we can do. I can't go out when I want to go out, right? We see this. We see people who feel that requirements to wear a mask is affecting their freedom. Being told you have to wear a mask. If I whatever, I can do whatever I want, right? That's sort of our modern way of thinking about things, right? I'm American, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. As the Midrash says, that's not how we accepted the Torah. The Torah was forced on us. We had absolutely no choice but to accept it. Some want to suggest that what this is getting at is after all the miracles that we saw from God, after what God had done for us with the plagues and so on, of course we were going to accept the Torah. Like we didn't even have a choice. We didn't have to think about it. But one way you can understand it is very simply, it was forced upon us. We don't have a choice. And by the way, I believe this. This is one truth that I hold dear. I really do believe this. I don't think everyone has a choice. See, that's why I don't like when people use the term religious, because it's usually a cop-out. They usually say, well, I'm not that religious, which is their way of saying somehow that doesn't apply to me. But it does apply to you. There's no such thing as religious or not religious. God gave us a Torah. It says in the Torah what we should do. It's my responsibility the same way it's your responsibility. Hey, okay, you so choose not to do it. Okay, that was your choice. We have free will. But there's a mountain over our heads, right? Like we're forced upon this. And this is Torah as responsibility, but it could become Torah as burden. It could become Torah as burden. And I wanted to share a very personal story, a very personal reflection on this. I have felt this way at times in my life. Sometimes I even feel this way today. Going into Shavuot this year, of course I'm disappointed we can't be in shul, but I saw this also as an opportunity. When do I get a chance to do my own learning on Shavuot? I never do my own learning on Shavuot. I have to do my teaching on Shavuot. And I got so swept up in trying to figure out the perfect learning that I wanted to do for myself that it started to become paralyzing to me. It felt like a burden. After high school, I went to learn in yeshiva in Israel. And I was very much, some people go to Israel, they want to party. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I knew that down the road I'd come to Beth Tefillah and I'd party here. In Israel, I wanted to learn. So I was really excited about having a whole day where my sole responsibility was to learn. Because in high school, I was a pretty serious student. I learned a lot of Gemara, I learned a lot of Talmud, but there were also the English studies, which I wasn't that interested at the time, and there were tests and all. And I thought, okay, now a whole day where all I have to do is learn. It's going to be amazing. And it became a burden for me. I felt like there was a mountain over my head. I felt crushed, like there was nothing that I could ever do that was good enough to learn enough. Because after all, if I learned for 12 hours, maybe I could learn for 13 hours. Like I'll sleep a little bit less. And what about 14 hours? Like there was no end. Like why do I have to stop for lunch? I'll eat while I learn. It felt so burdensome to me that literally, and I don't share this casually, I thought about it, that literally it threw me into a depression. a serious depression, a clinical depression which took me years to climb out of, for which I had to go to therapy and on medication, and which to this day, I'm still on a low dosage of that medication from that clinical depression that it threw me into. At a time, I was really in a bad place. And that's why the Torah that I choose to teach and the Torah that I choose to learn is a Torah that understands a different message of that mountain held over our heads. It took me a long time to figure this out. It took more years of learning. It took time in yeshiva. It took me coming to Beth Tefillah. It took, to be completely honest, it took working and learning next to Rabbi Wahlberg, who always, no matter what, stressed being happy and being joyous and not being too hard on ourselves, to be able to really realize that Torah spoke to me in a different way. Yes, it does speak to me as that responsibility, but it also spoke to me in the way that the Kli Yakar understands it. And this is the third source on that sheet. Says the Kli Yakar, you know what it means that God held the mountain over their heads? Says the Kli Yakar. He says, you know what it means that God held the mountain over their heads? He says, Vadai Shilatovatam, it was definitely for their good, Kafale Amahar, that God held the mountain over their heads. Lomar, what God was saying is, Ru'u, as long as you do not have the Torah, it's as if you're dead. You may as well be buried right there. It wasn't a threat. It was an offer. For it's only through the Torah that your lives will have meaning now and going further. You know why you should accept the Torah? Accept the Torah because it's going to bring you life. Accept the Torah because it's going to bring you inspiration. Accept the Torah because it's going to bring you relief. Accept the Torah because it's going to bring you light. That's what God was really saying to them. It wasn't a threat, I'll kill you and drop this mountain on you. I'm just saying, if you don't want to accept the Torah, life isn't worth living. Life that's worth living, accept the Torah. The Torah is your key to your relationship with God. The Torah is the key to good. And why learn Torah? Because Torah is beautiful. Because Torah heals. Because Torah is inspiring. Because Torah gives us life. That's what God was really saying. And that's the Torah that I yearn to learn and I yearn to teach, and that I certainly hope to be re-accepting come this Shavuot. Now, someone who knows something about Torah and about Chaim is our Baal Koreh, our ritual director, Rabbi Chaim Wecker. Now, some might think that Rabbi Wahlberg and me and Rabbi Yogev are feeling a little threatened because Rabbi Wecker has been making these funny videos and people are liking them more than our videos. And you know what? You're absolutely right. That's why we try to keep him off this MeZOOMin show. But since it's
true.
What, Rabbi?
We're going to miss him.
But being that it's almost Shavuot and you won't get a chance to hear him read Megillat Ruth in shul, we asked him to come on. First of all, he has made a recording and it comes out every Shabbat, and he has this week the Aseret HaDibrot. We hope you got that in your email. There were a lot of resources in your email, including Rabbi Wahlberg's full Yizkor sermon. But we're going to have Rabbi Wecker on now to read a few selections from Megillat Ruth that we read on Shavuot.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all well. Thanks for having me. I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller. I wanted to read 3 small portions of Ruth, which we would normally read on the second day of Shavuos. I would read more, but I haven't read Hebrew in so long. It's really a struggle for me. The first selection is the first 6 psukim or verses, because it's important to set the scene when you're reading a book and get some context. So remember, Naomi is married to Elimelech and they have 2 sons. There's a famine in Israel, and rather than help their fellow Jews, they leave for Moab. Their sons marry 2 women, one of whom is Ruth. So here are the first 6 psukim. If I forget and I keep going, then just stop me, okay? Vayhi bimei shefot hashofetim vayira ba'aretz vayelech ish mibeis lachem Yehuda lagor b'snei Moav u'bishto shnei banav v'b'shem ha'isha limelech v'shem ishto na'armi v'shem shnei banav machlov v'chayon efrasim mibeis lachem Yehuda v'yavo u'sedei Moav v'yiyu sham v'yamas alimelech ishnami v'tishayhi u'shnei baneha Vayisulahem Nashim Moavio Shem Achasor Pavishem Mashin Yisrus Vayish Visham Keser Shanim Vayamusudam Shnehem Achlon V'chayon Vatishayer Ha'isha Mishnei Yiladeho Me'isha Vatakam Hi V'chalosel Vatashem Mistei Moav Ki Shama Bistei Moav Ki Fakar Adonai Yasamo Laseis Lahem Lachem. Okay, secondly, I want to read my favorite part of Ruth. After her husband and 2 sons die, Naomi gives her daughters-in-law the option of going their own separate ways. Orpah, one of the daughters-in-law, turns her back and neck, called Oref in Hebrew, and according to our tradition, began to lead a morally depraved life. Yet Ruth stays with her. She says to her mother-in-law, I'll go where you go, your people are my people, your God is my God, and I want to be buried with you. Definitely not the typical response of a daughter-in-law. From here, we learn a lot of the laws of conversion. So here are the 2 psukim. Vatomer Ruth al tivkivi lo azveich lo shumei acharayich ki l'asher telchi eilech u'vasher talin yolin amechami ve'elohayich Elohai b'asher tamusi yamus v'shameh kaverko yaseh Adonai livecho yosiv ki amav v'sefri ben yu v'necha. Okay, the last part I want to read you is the part of the story where Boaz becomes betrothed to Ruth. He gives her 6 pieces of barley, which our tradition says alludes to the 6 righteous descendants she'll have, including King David and the Mashiach. Now, why did I pick this story? So to answer that, I have to tell you a story. So when I was in yeshiva, I knew someone who was planning on getting engaged right before Shavuos, actually to a woman from a family that my family was very close to. I grew up in Boston, and we would drive down twice a year to Baltimore, every summer, every other Pesach. And 9 of us stuffed into a station wagon. There was a lot of crying, a lot of vomit. There were elbows in the ribs, all that good stuff. So every time we were in Baltimore, we would get together with this family. We had many barbecues there. Anyway, that's for another time. So this guy goes on a date with a young woman, and they're playing air hockey. So she hits the puck to him, and he stops it with his hand and takes it off the table and replaces it with his own puck. So I don't know if you people remember when we used to eat in restaurants, you know when you buy a fountain drink, it comes with those plastic covers that you stick your straw into? So he had taken 2 of those beforehand. He put 6 pieces of barley inside, stapled the 2 plastic covers together, and then hit his homemade puck to her. So the moral of the story is 2 things. First of all, it's halachically okay and it's cheaper to get engaged this way. And number 2, boys in yeshiva are not at all romantic, not at all. The sad ending is that I'm pretty sure that she said no to him. Had he put 8 pieces of barley in, maybe the story would have ended up differently, but who knows? Anyway, so here are the last 5 verses of the 3rd parak.
Rabbi Wecker,
Yeah.
you know the addendum to that story is that they were standing outside, and she says to him, "Wow, what a beautiful sunset." And he looks at his watch. He says, "Shkia won't be for another 10 minutes."
Very good. Okay. Vatishka Marglosa Varaboker Vatakom Beterem Yakir Ish Esrehu Vayumer Yivada Kiva Haisha Hagoren Vayomer Havi Hamit Pachas Asher Layich Vechaziva Vatochezva Vayamat Sheish Sorim Vayoshes Aleha Vayavo Ha'ir Vatavel Chamosa Vatomer Miat Biti Vatagela Es Klasher Salah Ha'ish Vatomer Sheish Sorim Ailen Osami Ki Omar Elai Atavoi Rekam El Chamosech Vatomer Shiviviti Ad Asher Tedin Echipol Davar Kilo Yishkora Ishkim Kilo Hadavar Hayom. Have a wonderful Chag, everybody. Take care.
Yasha Koach, Shkoach. Everyone's throwing candy at the screen. Great job. All right, folks, we're coming to the end of our MeZOOMin, and it is time as we move now into the installation of our officers, and that will be followed up by Yizkor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as most of you are aware, on the first day of Shavuot, we always have our installation of officers. Obviously, this year presented quite a challenge in regard to that. Indeed, it represented quite a challenge to being an officer or a leader in a congregation. So at this time, I want to answer a question. We asked the question of why hospitals are called Sinai. Today's other question is, why are synagogues called Bayit, a house? Beth Tefillah, Bethel. There are so many different Beth types of names. Beth Israel. Why house? And in fact, the verse that describes the temple in Jerusalem that gave us our name, which is emblazoned on the front wall of our synagogue, is Ki Beiti Beit Tefillah, because my house is a house of prayer. Why refer to the holy temple in Jerusalem as a house? So Erica Brown writes something very interesting. Perhaps it's to teach us that we should treat the sanctuary the way we treat our homes. It's the Bible's way of reminding us that the temple is as much a part of our lives and as much a home to us as our home is. If we think of the temple as some big, remote, awesome place that is distant from us, then let someone else worry about it. But if we think of the place in which we pray and study and celebrate our simchas as a bayit, as an extension of our own homes, then we need to treat it with the same attention to detail as we do to our homes. The people who serve on our board of directors and the offices of our board and congregation take this message to heart. They treat Beth Tefillah the way they treat their own home. And they make sure things are right at Beth Tefillah in the way they make sure things are right at home. And it's particularly challenging at a time like this to make the right decisions that affect so many of us in so many different ways. So I salute those who have chosen to be leaders, and the new board members, I'd like to call their names out, and please rise. No, you don't have to rise. Ivy Aman, Stephanie Barron, Lauren Hurwitz-Brownstein, Melissa Eisner, Colin Fleischer, Dr. Craig Friedman, Melinda Levin, Sherry Maurer, and Judah Rosenblatt. Officers of the board, Secretary Shelley Kay, Vice Chair Synagogue Life Bess Gilden, Vice Chair Camp Dr. Craig Friedman, Assistant Vice Chair Finance Lorraine Bernstein, Vice Chair Finance Melissa Eisner, Vice Chair Development Sherry Maurer, Vice Chair Property and Facilities Colin Fleischer, Executive Vice Chair Neil Swern. Becoming a leader of a congregation used to be an honor, but in the days in which we live, it's quite a challenge. And these people have volunteered to take the challenge to keep our home intact, to keep it as beautiful as it is. And so it's an honor for me to install them as officers and board members of the Beth Tefillah congregation. Last but certainly not least is our chairman of the board, Louis Schwartz, and the president of our congregation, Ron Davis. I only want to thank them for making me seem like a prophet. Because last year when I installed them, I took note of what they had in common. They both came from wonderful families. They both married wonderful women, and they both have wonderful children. And I said, people like that must be doing something right. And I think it's going to be just right for Beth Tefillah. I want you to know personally how right it's been. These two leaders take the words of their rabbis to heart. They treat us with genuine respect and dignity, and they care about the Beth Tefillah family like they care about their own family. And we are honored to have them as our president and board chairman. I think they have a few words that they would like to share with us. Louis? Well, we would rather have Louis speak than Ron sing.
I would say thank you very much, Rabbi. I'm truly honored to continue as a chair. It really is, it's unbelievable what you get to see at 100,000 feet of Beth Tefillah. And the most important thing is that our professionals are truly unbelievable. And I am not going to start naming names, especially on the spot, but the congregation should know we are truly blessed with the professional staff, clergy, school, and the business side to lead us through this. And I wouldn't want to work with any other group of people. I'm very honored and flattered. And just thank you, and Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. And Ron, you're always much better than I am, so take it over.
Well, I just have
We want a song. We want a song.
Wait,
I have a few words prepared. It won't take long.
all of you should know that Ron got especially dressed up for this occasion.
What time's Yontif start? I can talk fast.
If his mother saw him now, wow, wow.
I, like Lewis, I just would like to thank everyone and thank the clergy. And you don't realize how much you miss seeing people until you miss seeing people. So I can't wait till all this is over and give everybody a great big collective hug. Thanks.
Thank you both. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We're not done yet, but thank you, everyone, for joining us. Really, this is truly, truly incredible. There are blessings that come out of all this, and though we can't be in shul together, I think us all being on here together and focusing on this learning is a beautiful, beautiful way to go into the Chag. Rabbi Wahlberg, do you have a list of the congregation officers there? Because I got
Did
a
I not
text
read that?
that we still have to install the congregation officers.
Oh, wait.
And in case anyone thinks that Rabbi Wahlberg is like losing it and I'm not, I didn't know that either. I just got a text from Gary Eidelman keeping us on mission. So thank you to Gary.
Oh, I just pulled it out of I have it. The secretary is Dr. Peter J. Second vice president is Benny Sobel. First vice president, guess who? Gary Eidelman. Honorary president, Dr. Louis Baer. Congratulations to all of you.
Mazel tov. And I saw one more thing in the chat in case it wasn't said, that vice chair of finance is Avi Benes. I don't know if we...
Oh, I didn't have that in the list. Thank you.
Okay, so vice chair of finance is Avi Benes, and that's mainly because now that they've sold their business, Avi has nothing to do. So he's planning on spending a lot of time chairing vicely the finance. All right. Thank you really all for joining us. We're going to continue now with Yizkor. Rabbi Wahlberg sent out a full Yizkor sermon that was sent out in